Welcome to Storytime with Vanessa. On today's Storytime with Vanessa, we are going to discuss traveling as a single woman. It has come to my attention recently that a lot of women are quite scared to travel alone, and I understand this very much, but in some respects it also astounds me just because I have done so much of it. It's almost second nature to me now. So I'll give you a brief rundown of the traveling that I've done, and then I'm going to answer some questions that I have found being asked quite a lot, and I'm going to try and answer them from my perspective and as best as I can. So my first trip alone was at the age of 14, actually. I went to visit my godmother in the UK when she was still alive, and my parents put me on a plane in South Africa. I traveled as a minor, and when I was 18, I was an exchange student in Oregon in the US, but I traveled with people to do that. When I was 20, I backpacked around Europe on my own, stayed with some friends of my parents, stayed with some friends of mine, and stayed in a couple of youth hostels. When I was 21, I went to the US as an au pair for 8 months. And then I immigrated in 2003 with a partner, so I didn't do that one alone, to New Zealand. However, in 2007, I immigrated to Australia on my own. During the time that I was there, I traveled to Thailand for 10 days vacation and to Bali in Indonesia for 5 days vacation, both on my own. I immigrated to the US on my own, went to Costa Rica on my own to teach English, and then traveled to Canada, where I was met with my partner at the time. But basically, the relationship ended, and I made my way through navigating Canada on my own, and then obviously traveled back to South Africa late 2020, and then to Mexico in July 2021, and came back to my beloved Canada in October of 2021. So I've traveled considerably on my own, and there are pros and cons, as the same way that there are pros and cons to everything. Sometimes it's scary and sometimes it's wonderful. So let's delve into some questions. So let's begin with, what's the worst thing about traveling alone as a single female, or traveling alone in general? Not having somebody to watch your stuff in airports or in short stopovers. I tell you, you have to haul everything that you are carrying with you to the bathroom, on any walks to stretch your legs, anywhere that you want to go. To be perfectly honest, that's my worst thing about traveling alone. But what's the best thing about traveling alone? You literally can do whatever you want, whenever you want to do it, at any given moment. There's never any arguments or fights about where you want to go, what you want to do, when you want to eat, where you want to eat. You literally are a one-stop station for making all of your own choices, which means that 95% of the time, you're seeing what you want to see, doing what you want to do, and having as much fun as you want to have. Is solo travel dangerous as a female? So obviously I'm coming from a point of moving to other countries and actually living somewhere, not just going on a trip. When you go on a trip, it's short. You know that you'll be returning home soon. And even if something is not working out the way you want it to, you know that there's an end in sight. However, when you're living alone, when you're immigrating alone, when you're setting up a life alone, it's a bit more of a long-term commitment. Is it dangerous? Yes. Is it dangerous to walk around your own neighborhoods depending on where you are? Yes. Unfortunately, in this day and age, being a woman in general can be a dangerous thing, just because of the targets that we can be in certain places. However, there's also a lot of power in being a woman. You are able to ask for help or get help a lot easier. People are more likely to stop and help you than they would a man. When I backpacked through Europe, I slept when I was in hostels, I slept with my money on me. Protecting your money and your valuables is probably the thing that I would say you need to pay the most attention to, and make sure that you're very cautious when it comes to that. Know where they are at all times, because that's what you'll need if you ever get yourself into trouble. I was a little bit nervous in Mexico, I'm not going to lie, especially as a woman. But you just have to be hypervigilant in those situations. I will say traveling as a middle-aged woman has been great, because you're almost invisible. And to be honest, when you're traveling, being almost invisible, it's a really good thing. So here's a good question. How do you deal with loneliness? How do you deal with loneliness at any point in time? Loneliness can hit you when you are surrounded by friends and family. It just depends on who you are and how you handle loneliness in general. I try and make friends wherever I go, and for me it's relatively easy because I am an outgoing person. I always have been. And so I just make the effort to try and get into groups or make friends. In one of my earlier videos, I spoke about making friends. And if you're going to move to another country, if you know you're going to move to another country or another city, I always suggest making friends before you go. Join Facebook groups, meetup groups. If you are going to an English-speaking country and you are not a native English speaker, find organizations for your people from your own country, people from your religion. There are so many groups out there on different apps and different platforms. My two main platforms that I have used are Facebook and Meetup, and they have done me well. I've made some amazing friends through those platforms, but I would suggest trying to make at least one friend where you're going to first. It just makes the transition so much easier. If you are planning on traveling alone, get out of your comfort zone and have fun. There's a very good question that says, what is the one thing that you know now that you wish you had known back then? My learning on these trips has been invaluable. But if there's one thing that I could tell myself each and every time, it's that you'll be okay. Like, you will be okay. Everything will be okay. Yes, things may not work out the way you want them to. Yes, there will be difficult times. But yes, there will also be some incredible times. And I have had some of the most amazing and rewarding experiences pushing myself and going for what I wanted and moving to different places and meeting different people. I've met amazing people and I have friends all over the world, but just remember, whatever you choose to do, you will be okay. No matter what happens, you will be okay. And you will be unbelievably surprised by the kindness of strangers. Some of the kindest acts, some of the most selfless acts that I've experienced in my travel have been from complete strangers who have nothing to gain by helping you. And I am forever thankful and grateful for them. One of the questions that I want to end on is, how do you convince your family and friends just to chill out and let you do what you want to do? I have no good answer for this. As a therapist, I can tell you to tell them that this is your life and that you will live it as you need to, and that you're going to make the decisions for you, that you're not hurting anyone, and that you're not trying to hurt anyone, and that you mean no harm, but that you have to do this, and this is something that you need to do. As somebody who's lived this experience, I try to do that, but there are so many times where they're just not going to get it. People are not going to get it. They're not in your body, they're not in your mind, and they're not feeling the feelings that you're feeling. And they are perceiving your choices based on their choices, their experiences, but also their fears and insecurities. People will always judge out of their own fears and insecurities, and you cannot let that stop you. You need to make the decisions that are right for you, and sometimes they just won't understand, and that is where strength comes in. Do you want it badly enough? And if you do, find the strength to just go and live your life the way that you want to. It will be so rewarding for you. So I will end the story time by just sharing a few of some of the greatest moments of my life and the things that I remember so well. that happened in different countries that would never have happened if I hadn't embarked on that journey. From walking across the dais to collect my first degree in Australia, to sticking my head out of a sunroof, being driven down a 2-lane road in Texas, from connecting with my students in that classroom in Costa Rica, to watching a full moon rise and seeing the fireflies in summer in Canada. I have had an incredible life and an incredible time, incredible journey, and I don't regret a single moment of it. I hope that you follow your dreams, no matter how scary they are. Do it. Travel alone as a single woman, and let me know how you go. See you next time.